Hello and welcome to the Qigong for Vitality Communi-Qi first ever Q&A session. Today we have a question that I'm gonna read out, and then we can discuss it in some great detail. So this question comes from Alice, and she says, "Hi Jeff." Hi, Alice. One thing I would really like to know is related to practicing when it's hot. I live in a hot country where we have 45 degrees Celsius temperatures for about 5 months of the year. Yikes. It is a real challenge doing any form of exercise, and I find heat building up in my body. I don't know how TCM would frame this condition. In my body, I feel the heat building up and I get irritable, clumsy, and I have worse PMS symptoms as well as just simply feeling too hot. I have noticed that I enjoy Qigong flowing type exercises in the winter as they warm me up, but I'm concerned how they might affect me in the hot weather. Are there specific exercises or sequences or techniques that can be used to discharge excessive heat? Thanks. So this is a really good question, and I'm lucky enough to be able to call my personal experience to be able to answer this. So I lived in Taiwan for a little while, and that's where I learned a lot of the Qigong that I practice and teach here on Qigong for Vitality. And in Taiwan, I would practice in the parks, usually at about 5:15 or 5:30 in the morning. I would go to the public parks and I'd find a teacher or two and practice for a couple hours with them before going to work at the hospital. So in Taiwan, in the morning, sometimes by 7 o'clock, it was 35 degrees Celsius or so. And the worst part was it was really, really humid. It was sometimes 98% humidity. I remember one day we took some water and just poured it on one of the picnic tables just to see how long it would take to evaporate. And it just pretty much didn't evaporate. The air was just that saturated with the humidity. So because I was going to work after Qigong practice, I was really concerned about looking like I just stepped out of the shower because I was sweating so heavily. So what I did find though is that when I did start practicing, I actually didn't sweat that much. If I went for a brisk walk or a run, I was sweating like crazy. But when I would practice Qigong, it wasn't too bad. I was sweating very lightly, but not heavily. Now the reason this was happening was because Qigong routines, if they're a full routine, they're well balanced. So we have 12 regular meridians and 8 extra meridians. And a well-balanced full routine actually balances the qi circulation through all of these meridians. So if you're practicing out in the heat, then your body will come back to, it'll cool down. If you're practicing the cold, it'll warm up. If you're in the dry, in the dry weather, your body will start to produce more fluids. And if you're in the dampness, your body will start to dry out. So I have experienced this myself. Even when I was a relative beginner, I noticed that the body did have this way of regulating itself. But I've also seen it quite a few times in workshops and classes. So if you just practice the full routine, don't worry, your body will come into a balance. Now, just to go a little bit more in depth into this idea, in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, there's this concept called release the exterior. So we have our body, obviously, and then we have inside our body we have qi that flows throughout those meridians, and meridians go to and from internal organs. We also have a level of qi called the Wei Qi, W-E-I Qi, and this is an invisible defensive layer of qi that floats outside of the body. So this protects us from our environment. So if we're in the cold, then it'll protect us from that, or the wind, or the heat, or even sounds and sights and smells. Our Wei Qi will defend us from all these, what's called in TCM, the pathogens. So if you feel like you're very sensitive to the environment, part of the reason is because the Wei Qi is weak. And if you have weak Wei Qi, then whatever pathogens in the environment will get into the body and start to cause imbalance. So the way to help the Wei is Wei Qi is to help build up the lungs. So in the Communi-Qi, we do have a very specific lung building sequence or routine that will really help to build up that lung energy and the Wei Qi. So this is also effective too if you feel like you get sick quite often, and if you just see people who are sick around you and you pick up on it very easily, then building up your Wei Qi will also be helpful. So number one is the routines. A full routine will help balance your system, the hot and the cold. Number two is that you can build up and strengthen your Wei Qi. Number 3 is that there are acupressure points that you can use to help balance the body and the heat that's in the system. One of the strongest points to help release heat from the body is called Qi A, or it's large intestine 11. I always get my numbers and names mixed up because I've learned the Chinese names for all the acupuncture points, and I'm still have to familiarize myself with the numbers. So we have this point Qi A that's on the outside part of the elbow crease. So if you find the elbow crease, bend it right where the elbow crease ends, that's exactly where the point is. This point, when you stimulate it, will help to release any heat that's in the body. So this is good to do even if you're sitting somewhere in a crowded bus and you're feeling warm. You can just massage that point really deeply with your thumb. Push deeply and it'll help to cool down your body. You can also do it by tapping. You can pat it. Just recently I did a back routine, healthy back routine, and we were talking about tapping this same point, Qi A. So that will help in your practice as well. If you're in the middle of doing a routine and you start to feel yourself getting too warm, you can just start massaging that point or patting it. But I doubt you actually will need it because the routines do balance themselves out. And the fourth thing I want to mention is that you can use Chinese herbs to help balance the amount of heat that you have in your body. If it's getting to the point, this is for you specifically, Alice, if it gets to this point where it's affecting your internal organs, so it's affecting your digestion, your mood, your circulation, your hormones, that means that this external pathogen is getting in the system and into the internal organs. TCM in traditional Chinese medicine has a lot of herbs that can help balance and release excessive heat. If you have the availability, I would try to seek out a TCM herbalist or an acupuncturist to help really balance that. If not, you can increase your raw foods that you eat, your raw vegetables particularly cucumbers. Cucumbers really help to cool the body. Raw cucumbers can help dissipate that excessive heat. Another herb that can be very helpful is peppermint. Peppermint, you can think about it like a nice little tea that's nice to sip on, but it's a very, very powerful herb that can help dissipate excessive qi, particularly in the lungs. So if you're making peppermint tea, I would suggest if you're using tea bags, use 2, even 3 tea bags and make it really, really strong and let it steep for about 5 to 10 minutes. Your tea will probably cool down, but you can warm it up again. And then squeeze the tea bags out so you get a really strong peppermint taste. You might find the taste to be a little bit on the bitter side, but you have to think about it not as tea, but as a therapeutic dose of a herb. So peppermint will really help cool you down. All right, I hope that helps, Alice. I tried to give a little bit of information, but not too much. But believe me, there's a lot more that we can discuss. And if you are in the Communi-Qi, please feel free to leave any responses or any ideas, or let me know what works. If you're on YouTube here, just let me know in the comment section if you've tried any of these ideas or if you think something else helps to help dissipate excessive heat in the body. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again, and please feel free to share any more questions you have with me, and I will do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.